This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in Westminster, Colorado. I'm here with Care Placement Service. Since 1983, they have been finding the best employees, grow our local community, as well as our local businesses. I'm here with the CEO. Pastor, let's start off a little bit about yourself. I mean, quite honestly, your company began back in the 80s.
Yes.
Pretty much from humble beginnings, pretty much on a table just like this in your own kitchen.
Yes.
You decided it was time to help folks out there. Share with me a little bit how it is you got started with this.
I was run over by an uninsured motorist in April of '82, and I was in St. Joe's until January of '83. When I came out, I ended up being a single mom with 2 kids and no ability to take care of myself or the kids. I was crippled for 5 years after that. So what I decided was, growing up, I learned that if you do good things for God, God will do good things for you. And before I moved here, I worked for an employment agency. So I just sat down at the kitchen table and thought finding jobs for people would be a great way to do it.
What a wonderful story. I mean, whether it's back in the 1980s or the current day to day, the actual challenge of finding employment is something that always exists. Why do you think your services that you provide are probably more important today than they were even back then in the 80s?
In the 80s, the thing that drew me a lot was the oil crash in Colorado. And people were jumping out of windows and became desperate. Well, today it's not that much different. People are out there, they're becoming unemployed due to circumstances that they didn't create. So people need a personal touch. They need to know that somebody cares to help them become productive again.
And that is definitely your company. You've helped literally thousands of people gain employment out there. And really the only prerequisite on the front end is that they are going to be able to help themselves, and also they understand how important it is to want change in their own life for the better. Yes. Is that what's required?
Yes. We do have a $20 a month partnership dues, but with that we'll do any employment counseling or helping with resumes, and then we actually set up the interviews with the employers and intercede between the employer and the person to try and encourage the employer to hire them. If they want to give a donation, that's fine, but otherwise, we're a nonprofit. We are actually the only one of its kind in the country because we're a full care.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things here, obviously when a person is out there looking for employment, especially for an extended amount of time, it can be very discouraging. It can be depressing. Share with me how a Christian-based company really can help us through those times.
Well, I'm evangelistic in nature, but when people come to me, they need some encouragement. They need to know that it's not impossible to get a good job again. Some people that have been coming to us were employed for 20 years. Their company is shutting down. They haven't even gone out looking for a job in all that time. So they're looking at this wide world of, what do I do? And so we can help them with that personal attention, because when you encourage somebody and let them know that they still have value, and that's part of the Christian word. You know, Jesus was an encourager. Yeah, he got in some people's faces, and I do too, but at the same time, they need to be lifted up. They need a hand up. I don't like giving handouts.
You got it. I mean, quite honestly, your end goal, what you provide, is that of employment. Yes. But really, on the front end, right away when they walk through the doors, your first goal is to provide hope. Yes. I mean, that's the key.
Yes, that is the key. It's major important in today that people get hope. There's so much out there to defeat a person, you know, and when they're looking for a job, and for example, one thing is that if they have to go online to put in an application. So many people don't understand a computer and don't know how to do that. So we will help them to do that or walk them through the apps online.
So we're talking about, more important than on the front end, we've got hope, we've got prayer, but we need to do our part as well. And you're basically bringing them tangible tools that they can use out there. Let's touch on some of the tools that you provide out there. Let's start on the front end. Obviously, that piece of paper that they hand over, which is a resume, really can be a ticket in a door or a ticket out the door. Is a resume something you can help with put them together?
Absolutely. We always review the resumes. For example, the couple that's in there now, their resumes are atrocious. I mean, it's like reading a book, and that's wonderful, but employers today, if you don't get their attention in the first 13 seconds, it's file 13. So we help them to convert it to a short resume and then the extended resume. So sometimes there are people who need more than one resume.
So they're equipped either way, whatever they may need. Obviously, got the resume ready to go, put it out there. Hoping next for the interview. Let's talk about the interview process a little bit here. This is a place where people need help. I mean, what to wear, what not to wear, what questions to ask. Basically understanding that whole process, even mock interviews. Is that something that's done here as well?
Yes. Application training is very important. Particular, for example, the one that I mentioned, he was employed for 20 years, doesn't know how to find a job. He doesn't know how to fill out an application anymore. So we'll help with that. A lot of people will put C resume, and that's not appropriate. I mean, the first thing the employer will see, they can't follow direction. I said, fill out the application. So we try to help with that. We'll walk through a mock interview with them. If they come here dressed for an interview, then probably they're going to go inappropriate attire to the company. But if they come here and they're wearing sweats or whatever, then okay, do you know what you got to wear to an interview? You're a construction worker, so jeans and a button down would be great. You're a secretary, let's wear something a little bit more appropriate for a secretarial desk. You need to dress according to the positions you're applying for.
It's amazing. I mean, the interview experience itself is normally a one-on-one situation. It's very an individual experience, yet the individual on this side, he's probably representing more than himself, many times a spouse, many times an entire family. Are these things that basically you try to keep in mind when you're dealing with folks?
Absolutely. We need to know what is triggering their emotions to get a job now. And if they need help with food, then we'll get help for them for that. We can help them with some of that. If they need housing or housing assistance or utility assistance. We've worked with most all of the nonprofits, about 60 of them in the Denver area. So we'll find out those types of things first, because if he's concerned about how he's going to pay the rent or he's concerned about how his children are going to eat, then that is a priority over the job. Because he can't focus on doing a good job for the employer if he's worried about those things, because it's going to be 2-3 weeks before he gets a paycheck.
And like you said, it seems like common sense to understand that, but when you're in the middle of all that, you're not thinking so common sense. I mean, you're very in a fight or flight situation. I mean, let me ask you this. One of the things that really has changed, like you mentioned before, was back in the 80s, computers weren't even there. Now you have to be somewhat computer literate, and this is something you guys help with, provide as well.
Yes. Some individuals need training on a computer. We have a program that will just sit someone down at the computer and it talks to you. Do this, type that, and so forth. And they need that. And there are other organizations out there that we've partnered with who do just that.
Interesting. I mean, as I notice, basically the average placement services out there, their rate of employment is some pretty low numbers. We're talking 4 to 5%. How does your differ in that way?
We're almost 50%. And that we are 10 times the national rate. And I personally believe that, number one, it is the blessing of the Lord, okay, because the word tells us that a man needs to work. You know, he's got daily necessities that he needs to provide for himself. You know, and the needs of life continue whether a person has a job or not. So with all of that in mind, it just makes sense to, the $20 a month is a minuscule amount. We do ask the individual to give a donation after they're hired. More often than not, they can't do it because they're too busy trying to get caught up with the things of life. And we understand that. So we're kind of faith-based.
It's absolutely faith-based. It's a nonprofit. I mean, when I look at the low numbers of the average out there, which is 4 to 5%, yet what they charge can be very high.
Yes. National Bureau of Labor and Statistics says that the average employment agency, it's a fair trade amount industry. So they can charge up to 30% of a year's salary to get somebody a job. And if you're getting a job at 30,000, which almost today that's a minimum wage kind of thing, that's 10 grand right off the top.
Ouch. I mean, that is not something, it's almost you want to celebrate, and now you're kind of wondering if the celebration is well worth it.
Right.
Let me ask you this. This is something that basically, it's a partnership here. It's a community situation here. Like you said, we're talking about minimal dues on a weekly basis. That give you, it's a monthly basis. I mean, that gives you really a lot of access to a lot of information.
Yes.
And like you said, it's kind of a pay it forward donation at the end. If something you can do basically to give back to the community, that's kind of exciting.
Correct. It is, and it works. And if the individual has gotten to a place in life where they can't pick up cans or do whatever to earn the $20, we'll put them back out in the community for 8 hours a month. If you don't have the $20 a month, you've got plenty of time, you're unemployed. So do 8 hours somewhere. If you have a local food bank or a church that needs painting next to you, or a senior citizen that needs their yard mowed and they can't afford a landscaper, we'll ask the individual to go do that and then just bring a report card back. And it simply says, were they on time? Did they do a good job? And sign off on it.
Wow. What a great program. Viewers, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. First of all, what you're going to see is their contact information. You can also find them right there on their website. On the website, you'll learn more about this program. Understand this is a company that really began with humble beginnings itself, just like on a kitchen table here back in 1983, from basically a lady that understood that she understands struggle. She basically understood what it takes to get back on your feet again. She basically wanted to provide a company that was a blessing not only to those individuals, but also to the businesses as well as the community. You can sign up right there on the website as well. Take a look at different types of industries they're able to work with. Maybe you're an employer who wants to be part of the community here as well. We'd love to hear from you, as well as volunteers. It takes quite a bit of volunteers to provide for any nonprofit out there, and this is one that is definitely needed out there. Let me ask you this. If obviously, only if your people are successful is your company successful. I would imagine when they get a job, you're probably just as excited as they are.
Yeah, I have a bell. It's a cowbell, but I have a bell. And when somebody gets a job, we ring that bell because it means another life is becoming a contributing member to our society. We've got to get people back on their feet again, and not because we owe them or they owe us, but because it's beneficial for the community, for our lives, for their lives. It works. And when you can care, spirit, soul, and body, you know, of the whole man, they have peace, and they have comfort, and they have knowledge that they're partnering with somebody who gives a poop, excuse me, but they do. Wow.
That's about as great as you can say it. Once again, that is Care Placement Service. Since 1983, have been helping folks out there find employment, but also find a lot more. Find hope, understanding, and basically stir in the community. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.